I'm faster, I'm cheap, and my name is XRP. To the moon, yeah, get everybody by surprise about money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. I get everybody by surprise about money. Everybody by surprise, XRP. Everybody by surprise, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. Banky on bank, banky on bank, banky on bank now. Banky on bank, banky on bank, banky on bank now. Banky on bank, banky on bank, banky on bank now. Banky on bank, now banky on bank, yeah. Everybody got surprised about money. Everybody got surprised, XRP. Everybody got surprised, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. I get everybody got surprised about money. Everybody got surprised, XRP. Everybody got surprised, see it coming. Everybody gotta just wait and see. I'm faster, I'm more secure than you'll ever be. I'm faster, I'm cheap, and my name is XRP. I'm faster, I'm more secure than you'll ever be. I'm faster.
Hello everyone, let's get started. I have nothing to tell you today. Literally nothing. Can you hear me? Well, actually I do have something to tell you. I do not have financial interests, I have no sponsored links, and I don't want no donations. This is just for educational purposes. And now I'm yours for questions. I'm sure a lot of questions will evolve around the Federal Reserve presentation yesterday. Hello everyone. Thank you, Gio, for the parody. Thanks. Hello, Richard. Rohit, I have literally no doubt. I mean, I don't know how much XRP you have, but I'm pretty sure not too far from now, with about 1,000 XRP, you'll be millionaire. Okay, I'm open for your Fed talk. Was a bit for the garbage, I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Well, I mean, the one tweet which, stood out most for me today among all those Federal Reserve commentaries was the tweet from Dilip Rao. Dilip usually has a way of being kind of like a real gentleman. He is, I don't know, I cannot describe him really. But his tweets are usually, when he comments on something, are for me usually quite motivating, and he was actually quite happy about that announcement. And some of the other commentaries, I think, evolved around the fact that faster payments in any means help Ripple follow their strategy, Internet of Value. I have tweeted this week from a video. I think it was from a Ripple drop, if I remember properly. I have to check it again. And in that video, a guy from Ripple said we're selling connectors. And I mean, when they have been basically stressing, I don't know, other stuff until maybe September last year, starting about Swell conference last year, they changed their focus slightly in their public appearances. They focus a little bit more on interoperability, and one of the things you shouldn't forget is that RippleNet can connect whole payment systems. I'm 100% sure the Australian NPP, I think it's called New Payment Platform payment system, I'm 100% sure is connected. Then the one in England, 100% is connected. I am pretty sure the ECB one is connected. There was a guy recently, I think it was Mr. B or Mickey B Fresh, if I remember properly. He sent me a screenshot from ILP connector between Euro and XRP, and it had like the title ECB ILP connector something. So I'm really not worried. And I mean, anyway, domestically within a country, XRP is anyway not required. ILP X current is totally sufficient. XRP is not targeting US dollar to US dollar payments. It would be an overhead, because you would need to change first into XRP, send the XRP, and then change back into dollar again. And ILP, without requiring that conversion into XRP and out of XRP, is way faster, obviously, because it doesn't need that conversion. Yes, Richie, XRP rich. I still believe in 4 digits by the end of this year. And as you say, minimum 1500, I think minimum 1700. But I'm really thinking that I'm with 1700 at the minimum. I'm really conservative. I mean, come on, guys. I repeat it again. Ripple has been in contact since 2015 with software providers for banks. I did a research on 4 of them: Finastra, Temenos, Task Group, and CGI Group. The 4 of them cover about 70% of the global banking software market. And they have altogether about 500,000 employees. Ripple has, with 300 employees in about 3 years, covered 200 plus customers, let's say maybe 300. If just 0.5% or 1% of that 500,000 employees takes care of those banking integrations, software pieces, we are like 5 to 10 times more employees than Ripple has, or even more. So I really don't worry. I mean, since my super hybrid theory, I do not have any doubts anymore that RippleNet will be a success. And since I read about the Shane Ellis theory, I have no doubt anymore that XRP can and will have a high price, because it's the only thing which makes sense. Please, Paul, you're not seeing it getting above $1 this year. I mean, once SPI gets started, really. Obviously, they still have a problem there with their trading engine. Somehow, people report that the trades are not really going through yet. But once those trades are going through, I'm pretty sure that within less than 2 weeks we will see $1 already. And Richard tells it, everything is ready for use. I mean, they have literally banks in every important country. Basically, they cover all corridors. Maybe they do not cover all corridors for 100%, but usually those banks are the big guys. Like the one bank who is mainly available in South America, BBVA, I guess it's called, and Santander. I mean, those are top 50 banks. In Switzerland, it's Credit Suisse and UBS. They're also top 50 banks. We know from Bank of America, Santander, Standard Chartered, those are all top 50 banks. And then in all those countries, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and so they always have one of out of the top 5 banks of those countries. In Thailand, in Singapore, in Australia, it's Westpac. Westpac is also among the top 5. I mean, there is literally nothing to worry about that. Ralph Raymond, well, not really. Can I send a link here? Let me check. SPI VC. I hope that works for you guys. That link I sent, but it's actually the Pro exchange. That might be the reason why we do not see a lot of volume there. But I mean, come on, they have been, I'm pretty sure, per week since last June for over a year now. I'm sure they have registered, I don't know, between 5 and 10 million users on their site, and that will bring volume. That's literally out of question. Even if 5% of them have bought on Kraken or any other Japanese or Korean exchange already, but the volume from people like my parents, like who didn't hear about crypto before, Kitao is making quite some advertising in Japan. Begu, that's the $1 million question. When does the price go up? That really no one knows. Yes, Butterfly Trader, something holds it down. I have received a direct message on Twitter today by someone asking me why the price isn't basically moving. It even dropped today, about 3 or 4% or so. I literally don't know. I mentioned in the German live stream last week, I could think, but this is just a hunch, I don't have any proof for that. I could think because SPI has about a year delay that the Kitao requested the price to be kept down until those Japanese people can buy in at a lower price as well. And I mean, they will drive the price up anyway. It'll be something similar as what we have seen in the bull run end of 2017. Maybe that's the reason. I really don't know. Well, CSC and Gio, Shane Ellis talked about September, but it was actually, I think it was November last year. He thought, I think, that the deadline would be when tips went live, but obviously that wasn't the case. Maybe he wasn't that deep involved at that time to see how big RippleNet actually will become. And I mean, the whole thing is literally complicated. You have to sorry, my throat, I don't know. Can I give an example? I mean, it's a little bit like a nuclear reactor. Once that machine started, it's literally kind of impossible to stop it. And for that it needs high price and huge volume in order to be able to build this equilibrium around the world. Maybe Xpool will play a role there, so that I'm still thinking those banks from the CSL group are kind of playing the role of market makers, but maybe they will also participate in this Xpool thing to basically fill and deplete that Xpool, whatever it is. No one really knows what it is. Vic, can this Ripple themselves, you mean the 50 billion out of escrow? No, first of all, it's escrowed. They can only release $1 billion every month, and they just recently told the public they will hold back with OTC sales. So no, that's a complete no. Ripple won't control the market itself will control the price. T-Spall, SBI, the problem with SBI having delays, I mean, Kitao wants to make 100% sure to be 100% compliant. You have to see it's a different thing, Coinbase, Binance, Bitstamp or whatever, compared with SBI. SBI is a bank-backed exchange. They cannot get the slightest thing wrong. It needs to work. It needs to be compliant in every little aspect. XRP, if I had Bitcoin, I don't, but if I had, I would have converted it long time ago. According to Shane Ellis, this steep rise could happen basically any time. He mentioned there is a group of, like, I think he called it the inner circle, and only a few people know when and how the price will rise. Thank you, Richard, for your compliment. Most seem to think that Sam I Am has an excellent knowledge. I had to issue a rant over him today. Well, actually, Richard is telling math does not lie. I mean, my math is not. Don't misunderstand my math as being 100% correct. What I'm usually trying to do with my figures is not really telling you we will end up at that price because these are the figures which end up in the calculation at a certain price. I'm more trying to give you an idea of the whole thing. Most people have no clue. In tips, actually in Target 2 in Europe, every 8 minutes a transaction over more than 1 billion goes through the system. Every 8 minutes. And that's what most people don't get, and even those payments need to go through. Trust me, HSBC, they're focused on trade finance. Basically, I don't know, they're helping transporting oil or metal or whatever. They have such payments, I'm assuming, literally multiple times a day. I have no doubt about that. And then we don't even talk about the foreign exchange rates. I mean, had SBI gone live June 2018, the plan would have been to go live with foreign exchange trading on XRP ledger by March this year. Now, as that whole thing has been moved a little bit, the plans for the foreign exchange trading moved as well, but they will start this year, I have no doubt. In that presentation, and Crypto Eerie made a really excellent work in one of her videos explaining this presentation. They're talking about the year 2020, but that's the business year. The business year 2020 starts in beginning of April 2019 and ends end of March 2020. So if they want to start that FX stuff and they want to report some nice figures, they need to get that going before the end of the year. And Japan alone accounts for about 20% of the worldwide foreign exchange market. So just that alone, I mean, it's like freaking crazy. Now I lost where I was. Let's go on. Galgitron is hard. Butterfly Trader. Yes, there is still a fight between me and Galgitron. I wrote today to a guy who called Galgitron an idiot. He's not really an idiot. So far it's two theories with two different concepts, and neither of us knows which is right. Thanks, CSB Bain, for your compliment. Butterfly Trader, there is a third way. Trust me, I tried hard to figure out a third way between slow and fast. I mean, half slow, half fast. I mean, maybe. I mean, even Galgitron, he doesn't give any figure. I tried to press at least some idea out of him how the price will rise, because he always says slow, steadily increasing and accelerating. Accelerating basically could mean 1% every day, but until we would reach, I think I did an example with a calculation of only $100, it would take about 3 years. When we had every single day 1% increase. No, actually that cannot be. Maybe it was $1,000. Because at 1% we would already in 1 year be more than 4 or 5 times higher than at the beginning. But I really cannot think of a third way, a half fast or middle slow way. I mean, my logic, butterfly way to this third, and actually is also an argument against Galgitron's theory. I mean, let me write that down. I will put the link to that in the video once we end. Link to the cost model PDF from Ripple. There is a PDF regarding the cost model if you use Xcurrent or Xrapid, and I am really hoping that at least with the rough image of that document most of you are familiar with. However, an important thing in that document is actually where Ripple explains what the cost actually is of why the current system is so expensive. And we know we pay fees, I don't know, between 5 and 15% depending on the amount and where you send the money. And it's like, I think 5 or 6 attributes which have an influence on those fees. And one of these items or attributes is that people have to chase transactions which didn't arrive. Okay, that might be a bit easier with GPI because they kind of immediately know where the bottleneck is, but they still have to chase the appropriate bank down and check what's happening. And the thing with ILP or RippleNet is the payment goes through or not. It cannot get stuck nowhere. Now when we have a price which cannot be used for any height of value of a transaction, how will you deal that? You will always need to check back with someone. Will I move the price if I now make a transaction over 10 million or about a transaction about 50 million? That's a total no-go. They want to just press the button and off it goes. They don't want to care on every payment if it works or not. And that's why I believe there will be just the fast option actually available. That's basically how I apply my logic. Okay, now let me check additional questions and comments. CSC Bain, that's actually an interesting thing. Darren Moore is quite I don't know how to say that in English, but he thinks DTCC will be using XRP through the dot connections he made. And the same thing he was quite sure for the clearinghouse in the US. For both I am not 100% sure. Maybe no. When I read the FAQ section from the clearinghouse real-time payment system, I think it's called RTP, real-time payment system. There they talk about that they do real-time credits, where I think RippleNet is doing real-time debits. However, when I tried to figure out what the difference is, I think it's basically just a push or pull difference. And could be that RippleNet can be set up in the same way, that it can either push or pull a payment. I really don't know. That this is something I cannot tell. So, but I mean, even without that CSC Bain, I just told about the foreign exchange plans from Japan, and they cover about 20%. That's like a 5 trillion daily market. So just from there we will see, and I mean SBI consortium I think covers about 80% of the Japanese managed assets. So you can be sure that from those 20% that 1 trillion from Japan, about 800 billion, goes at least towards the accounts of the SBI consortium. What consequences for XRP if all OTC retail yen is merged? When can we expect this? I don't quite understand your question to SV. Can you maybe rephrase that a little bit? You write, what consequences for XRP if all OTC retail yen etc. is merged? What can we when can we expect this? I don't understand what you mean by that. Butterfly trader, I wish someone from the inner circle be here. Tobias Kramer is asking if SBI XRapid transaction will affect the price. I think for them holds the same logic as for why no one else is using XRapid for high value transaction. The price. But trust me, they want to go live with that. Maybe it's really them who will drive the price up. It would also make sense because SBI is one of the hugest investors, the largest investors in Ripple, the company. So it would make sense if Ripple really is covering the slippage on those first few transactions where the price is elevated to this high level. It would make, to me, most sense if they had to pay out SBI. But I really don't know. Leveland Grayling, I will visit South Africa. I want to meet Ian Nothings, one of the guys. He's kind of like a best friend of Jack the Rippler. He's really nice guy. That person I really want to meet. Then we can also meet in South Africa. Peter Corbett, are all payments in Target 2 cross euro border? No, actually Target 2 is only euro. I'm not even sure if those EU countries which do not use euro are included. I think it's really just euro. And the reason for that is because I think Target 2 and also TIPS supposedly work via a similar method they're proposing now for this Fed Now payment system with a central bank account from the banks. That's how they basically make it fast. Because there's basically they just send a message to the central bank, move money from my account to the account of the other bank. That's kind of like they do it. That's why it's so fast. Richard has actually a theory. He thinks that the next XRP rise will be started once Bitcoin dominance reaches about 80%. That's maybe something you guys can think about a little bit more. I talked with Richard about that already. Basically, I don't know, and I mean, I also even don't care. I also don't care about all those news anymore because, as I said, since my superhighway theory and the proof that it actually was a strategy, And that proof I only found after I figured out what their strategy is. I could basically just lay back and have a good time, because that was the moment when I knew that they're actually doing the right thing. That was like the wow. And then the Shane Ellis theory, which basically showed how the markets work. Peter Corbett, yes, that's what I basically told before. I think that the whole system is quite complicated, because there is those money flows or XRP flows, basically, they need to be somehow balanced. Let's assume there would be just US and Mexico. Basically, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that Mexico is most likely importing more from US than the other way around, and it would create an imbalance. But because Mexico is doing trade with Brazil and other countries as well, that's a little bit leveled. It's still not in balance for each particular country, because each particular country has basically not one country in the world has a balanced import export kind of figure. But overall, when you look at that on a global level, it completely makes sense, and that's why it's taking so long. And yes, I think they will all start at once. It's like a repeat. It's like a nuclear reactor. It needs a high price, and then the volume starts. And once that has started, if I want to sell 50 XRP, I might not be able to sell immediately, or I would have to go down with my price expectation, because the demand coming from those companies on RippleNet will be so high. And by the way, Peter Corbett, those 200 plus companies on RippleNet, I've been telling before about the superhighway. I think that we're, without knowing that, even Ripple doesn't need to tell how many and whom is customer of theirs. They're not a public company. They do not have to disclose anything to us. And I think we're way over 1,500 institutions worldwide already. I have literally no doubt about that. I repeat again, I think I've talked about that already in several live streams. Finastra was one of those 4 software companies for banks I did a research upon. I think Finastra was one of the first companies where they made a partnership with. I think it was even 2015, if I remember properly. And recently, Finastra tweeted that about, I think, 4,200, I don't remember one term, I think it was community banks and credit unions are using Finastra solution. And I recall you guys that on 1st of October last year, when XRP was announced to be live, Catalyst Corporate Credit Union was announced as one of the first customers. And I remember everyone, boo, boo, a credit union, that's nothing, that's not even a real bank. But now when I saw that tweet from Finastra, it all makes all of a sudden sense, because those corporate credit unions are like the umbrella for the little ones below. The corporates offer payment rails, liquidity and other services to the smaller ones. And those 1400 credit unions across US, 1400, that's the total of them all. They together would be like the fifth largest bank in US. And I'm 100% sure that they're on RippleNet. I even had to retweet that because my tweet went totally unnoticed, and on the retweet I received a like from Finastra, and I was writing something that it went basically totally unnoticed, and I basically explained very shortly in that tweet that it made sense. Now, this Catalyst Corporate Credit Union as being one of the first XRP customers. Peter Corbett, no, I don't think XRP will be used in Europe at all. I told that regarding the Fed Now system, as long as you stay within the same currency, it's not required. ILP or X current is just fine enough. XRP is really just needed when you need to bridge, when you have two different fiats or two different other assets, gold and dollar or whatever other thing. Richard, is that proven that they gave 20,000 XRP last year for lobbying? Let me do a little research on that. Lobbying on US Parliament with 20,000 XRP for each person. That's something I heard sometime before, but I think I didn't find a proof for that. Richie, XRP Rich, he's mentioning maybe all the employees of Ripple will leave Ripple once the price shoots high. I don't think so. When you hear those people talking, basically all those ones which we see in interviews, Evan Schwartz, David Schwartz, Dilip Rao, Ashish Piella, Danny Aranda, Brad Garlinghouse, all those guys, they're sure they want to get some money out of that, but they're not just doing it for the money. They wanna improve the world. I think Navin Gupta said it in a presentation last year. We won't leave until we make a dent in the universe. That's their mission, and I literally have no doubt that every single employee, I mean, imagine that, it's just fun, when you're a millionaire and the work, I mean, basically the work you're doing is basically just for fun, and everything we know about Ripple, the company, I mean, it's such a great company. There might be one or the other who thinks, well, okay, I'm done now, and I will leave, but there will come others and will fill the space. I literally have no doubt about that. Ralph Raymond. Well, actually, Ralph is mentioning the launch date of Fed Now in 2023-24. Well, in their documents they write anticipated launch is 2023 24. But if you guys remember this famous slide from Everest where ILP is in the center of all those payment networks worldwide, there the time schedule for mass adoption is also 2025. And I mean, mass adoption or FedNow being 100% live in all US means that freaking each and every single village with 500 people, if there is a credit union there, they need to integrate. Okay, we know now that it is already integrated by Finastra. It was just an example of maybe a small bank or something, and that'll be the problem. The big companies, they will come in the next 1-2 years. That's basically the same thing I'm projecting for this ILP thing, that until 2021, maybe middle of 2021, about 60%, 50 to 60% of the market should be covered. Because usually you have like the first 80% you reach with 20% of efforts. And then the last 80% or 20% you need to put 80% effort in. And that'll be the same for this FedNow system. You should never forget, I mean, basically everything needs be changed. Every ATM, the systems of the ATM, every I don't know, Starbucks cashier thingy needs to be updated. I mean, you pay and the money is on Starbucks account the moment you click OK after you enter your PIN code or scanned the QR code or whatever, and that will take a while. So far we have been just talking about basically banks to banks payments, but FedNow, the way I understood it, is really like an integral part as they have in China with these QR codes, and that you will not be able to do in 1-2 years. That will take some more time. No, Richard, I haven't read that article on Wall Street Journal. Maybe you sent me the link via Telegram. What time? English to me has an interesting comment. Basically, if I see that properly, one of the last comments so far, he writes, if the money is coming from other coiners who have seen the XRP light, then those coins would dump unless there is new money going into those coins too. I mean, English to me, I'm totally right about. I totally agree about that. And I mean, even if it could actually even work. I could imagine very well that about 90% of those cryptocurrencies out there right now on whatever coin listing site will go to zero. There will be no need. Once ILP with XRP at the center is there may be some niche which may be covered by XLM, maybe 2-3 different other coins. There might be a few coins targeting specific use cases, I don't know, like gaming or casino gambling, like this copycat of XRP coin. But all the others, there won't be a need for them anymore. Literally, I just see most of those coins automatically go to zero. And how will you be able to get your money out if it has no value anymore? I mean, Dieu, I confirm. Geo XRP, my resignation as XRP YouTuber, you mean? I don't know. I really don't know. Richie XRP, no, those 50 millions sent to Bank B are not gone. They're just now in the hands of the person actually paying fiat to get those corresponding XRP. But that person in the long run will be a market maker, or us retail investors. And if it's retail investors, we will hodl it until we have, I don't know, a certain amount of profit done. If it's a market maker, he'll be fine with about 0.25% gain per trade, or maybe even less, because they trade so much every day and so high volume. So the XRP will come back to the supply pool, but it'll not be after 4 seconds. It'll also not be after 2 minutes. I didn't really find information regarding market makers, how much they trade. I found information regarding day traders, but that's not really market makers. I mean, day traders, they're looking to make a profit. I mean, market makers surely as well. But it's their job to keep the market liquid. That's basically what they're paid for. There is actually, let me put that on the video as well. Put the link of the CME group for market makers takers. That's actually really nice. I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes video about market makers and takers introduction, and it explains quite nicely how those two are symbiotic. The takers are basically would be the ones initiating an XRapid payment, and the makers would be the ones who buy the XRP on the other side, because they are basically providing liquidity. And there is usually a small difference in spread, and this difference will be basically I think, if I remember properly, the gain for the market maker, if I remember properly. And that's how it works. Anyway, let's assume those day traders are small market makers. They do between 100 and 1,000 trades per day, but more 100 than like the average is more towards 100 than towards 1,000. So basically, they make, I don't know, when they work about 8 hours, they make every 5 minutes or so they make a trade. But they make a trade on various stuff, not just on one. I really don't know how that will work. CSI, let me check your question. I skipped your question. I saw someone say on Twitter that the US government could buy XRP from Ripple and every owner of XRP would profit greatly. What do you think of that? I mean, it sounds like Sam I Am theory. Nothing. I mean, that's just why would US government buy our XRP? It makes literally no sense. And SDR basket that was another stupid theory of Sam I Am actually, that XRP will replace the SDR, and IMF has been quite clear, unless a currency is actually used as official currency by a country, it will not be introduced in the SDR. However, let's assume, I don't know, Greece a few years back received from those SDR money because they had really financial problems. I think throughout 2 or maybe even 3 years they received quite a lot of money from the IMF and the World Bank as well, I think. Moving that money will happen with XRP, and that's basically all we need, because that will be literally billions. Okay, we're slowly getting to close. 1 hour is almost gone. I wanna repeat again, don't lose your faith. I mean, for me it was totally irrelevant what technology the Fed now would be based upon, because I know, and I will put that link, actually, right, I need to write it down, link to the video. We are selling connectors. I will put 4 links to the video afterwards, where one of the Ripple employees tells we're actually selling connectors, and in the newest versions of the RippleNet presentations you can also see that RippleNet connects whole payment systems. That may be one of the reasons why we only know about 200 banks who directly use RippleNet, because it could be that TIPS and Australia, the NPP is connected. I'm pretty sure it is. And so really, and also domestically, XRP is not needed. Dollar to dollar is way faster than dollar XRP dollar. One last question from you guys, and then we will stop for today. Ob dann was vorbereitet hat. Am Donnerstag, Begu. Awake Alive, really. 4 digits, end of year. That's, I mean, everything else just doesn't make sense. That's actually an interesting theory, Peter Corbett. I gave DM Logic a thumbs up. To me, and I actually answered to DM Logic, to me, that whole presentation yesterday came a little bit across in my perception like that letter Ripple has been writing to the US Congress in, I think it was Wall Street Journal or something, like a few days back. I think it's like smoke and mirrors. What actually will happen, I really don't know, but the initial tweet from Dilip Rao this morning is kind of soothing to me. even if they're not using any of the Ripple technology, but RippleNet will surely play an important role in connecting with other countries, because as soon as it comes to cross-border, XRP is basically literally still the only working solution out there. And with that, I want to thank you again for your trust, for your faith, for your persistence being with me. I have seen in the past few live streams there's a few new users coming along. That's really nice to see those guys. So forgive me for the ones which are following me for a longer time already, that I sometimes have to repeat stuff like about my superhighway and everything, but I think you understand me. And as always, if you go back to my older videos, especially like the one $5,000 per XRP, where I link 4 other videos. It's basically a video about 4 angles, and for each of those angles, actually for 3 of those angles, I made a video. One was actually quite a simple calculation. I mean, and this, let me finish with that, the simple calculation, because that's really the easiest to remember. In target 2, we have like, I don't know, every 3 or 4 seconds at least a $50 million transaction, okay? And 3 to 4 seconds, that's for me already quite high volume, I'd say. Now David Schwartz always tells low value, high volume at current price is no problem. Now do the math, divide 50 million. Now let me rethink the calculation. I think I divided. No. Now what is a low value payment? I think I took a really high value for that low value payment to be again in a conservative range. And I think I used 10,000. So divide 50 million by 10,000, you get a factor, I think, if I'm correct, about 5,000. If you multiply that with the current price, you end up at $1,500. But that's just the base. There is other payments like $500 million or $1 billion, which also needs to go through. And an exchange cannot sell all XRP they have currently liquid just for that one transaction. There is no guarantee that within 8 minutes, when the next huge transaction is coming along, that they will have again enough XRP. They always need to have a reserve. And with that, I wish you all a good sleep. And today's Tuesday, right? Some of you I might see on Thursday in the German stream. Otherwise, next week, Tuesday, English live stream. Take care. Thanks, everyone.